Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ramani. Welcome to this YouTube channel on narcissism. So let me start this video with a question. How do you feel after you spend time with a narcissistic person? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I'd love to hear how you feel after you spent an hour or 2 or 5 or 10 with a narcissistic person. Just really kind of put your head down. Like think about the last time you spent time with a narcissistic person, which might have been recently. So if you get those in the comments, but my guess, not even having seen your answers yet, are that some of the answers to this are depleted, exhausted, disgusted, and just wrung out. And this can happen if it's a parent, friend, your own child, co-worker, and heaven help you, if you're still in a relationship with a person like this, it could be your partner, right? But I really want you to take a minute and think about your last interaction with a narcissistic person. Breathe in and think about how you felt. And for some of you watching, like I said, this might have just been 5 minutes ago that you were with the narcissist. Now, I'm going to do this right now, right here. So I'm making this video and trying to pull that feeling, thinking about my last narcissistic, okay. I can tell you I felt fatigued, helpless. I really wanted to go to sleep. I was annoyed and distracted, and I always tend to get migraines. So when I know I'm going to have to spend time with a narcissistic person, I always carry a little bag that has my migraine medications close by. Like I said, I'd love to hear what your experiences are. I think it would be good for everyone to see what everyone's experiences are. Now, even if it's not a primary relationship, let's face it, nobody's getting out of this life without having at least one narcissistic person in their lives. And while not all people may have heavy narcissistic relationships like parents or partners or adult children, all of us have some. So I think the short answer is after you spend time with a narcissistic person, you feel awful afterwards. And you may not even connect to the narcissist and I feel like crap, that you just spent time with a toxic person and you feel sick. I mean, the best example I can give is really spending time with someone who smokes. After a while, you may feel sick from breathing in their smoke, right? Now, this feeling we have after we spend time with them, it's a way that narcissistic relationships also make us really inefficient because we end up so tired after these encounters. And we may even lose a day or half a day of sort of productivity or concentration after a major narcissistic encounter. Since we can't get these people out of our lives that easily, most of the time, what can we do? You need to do something that I call sort of decompression after a narcissistic encounter. So what does that mean? First, even before you see the narcissist, if you know who you're going to meet, and you don't always, you need to be aware when you know that you're headed into something exhausting. And you may need to give yourself a pep talk ahead of time. Don't go deep, don't engage, don't let them get the best of you, you know the drill. You just are aware ahead of time, like, oh my gosh, this is going to be exhausting, like a really long hike or like a really long international flight or having to move lots of boxes on moving day. You're going to be tired because it's tiring. But the difference is that after a long flight or a day spent moving, you understand why you're tired, right? But if you don't understand narcissism, you may not understand that you're tired from having spent time with them. And if this is an unknown person to you, and only as the day goes on, you're like, oh, this is what I'm dealing with, you may get depleted and weren't as prepared. But afterwards, after spending time with a narcissistic person, you have got to build in a little time and space to come down from it. So what are some ways, I should say, you could do this? How do you create a decompression process after the narcissist? Here's some thoughts I have. Number 1, be alone. It's often the easiest way to off-gas the toxicity of the interaction, to not have to make idle, empty conversation, but just breathe and let it go. Number 2, if you do have to be with people, choose good ones. Healthy, supportive ones who aren't enablers, who won't gaslight you, because having to deal with more BS after dealing with a narcissist is just too much. Number 3, do something pleasant. Binge watch TV, take a walk, play with a pet, cook a favorite dish, eat a favorite food, work in the garden, but do something that's enjoyable. I happen to be a play games on my phone, watch shows kind of gal after I have to deal with a narcissist, and I have to do it alone. Number 4, take a nap. Sleep is often a reboot, and we may wake up a little refreshed and may actually be able to distance ourselves from that narcissistic encounter. Number 5, one other thing to try is take a shower. I know in water shortage times this isn't always the best thing, but most of us don't have swimming pools or oceans or lakes that we can go to. But there's something about stripping down and getting sort of immersed in water that recalibrates us. I'm convinced it is something primal. I find warm water to be incredibly soothing, and when I cannot get any of these other things done, I'll take like a 5-minute shower. It makes a difference. Number 6, clean up. Sometimes having things be more clean and orderly can be such a relief, and the act of cleaning becomes a sort of metaphor of getting things into order after they feel terribly disordered after spending time with a narcissist. If you have a job or more than just a few people in your life that you are likely, let's face it, you're likely dealing with at least one narcissist. And it's so important to identify who these people are so you can prepare for how you feel afterwards. I am always amazed by how many people who may have to have regular contact with narcissistic folks will say, oh gosh, I don't know what's wrong with me. I feel like I'm coming down with something, or maybe I'm just getting depressed, or I think I need to see a doctor. With narcissistic and toxic people, one thing we know is more exposure to them means more negative effects. And unfortunately, your doctor is not going to get it since they're not really likely to integrate the impact of exposure to a narcissist into their diagnostic conceptualization. The fatigue and exhaustion are the central patterns in the post-narcissism exposure that we see, as well as people feeling distractible and just not feeling yourself, right? So you need a minute to get back to yourself. That's the decompression. And this is why the decompression process post-narcissist is so important. Self-care isn't spas and wellness retreats. Self-care is taking that minute or 10 minutes or an hour to calm down after toxic encounters, letting yourself breathe, shaking it out a bit, and reorienting yourself after the hijacking that is every encounter with a narcissistic person, to see it as the toxic exposure it is. If I could ever create a sort of hyperbaric chamber for people coming out of narcissistic encounters, I would. But until then, we may have to settle for showers, TV, and Candy Crush. So try it. Try this decompression next time. Choose from that list of 6 I gave you. See how it feels. Take that time to decompress after a narcissistic encounter. I cannot stress the importance of doing this enough. We really can't set up our lives to be fully without them. So at least we can create the workarounds and strategies that help us feel supported and a little less crazy. Thanks again.